The Will Cain Show podcast is brought to you by the Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, 2% at grocery stores, and 1% on all other purchases. Now when you go out, you cash in. What's in your wallet? Terms apply.
This is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio. It's
always easy. It's always fun. It's always popular to go in on NFL referees. And right now, pass interference looks a lot like the catch rule. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows what it looks like. They don't even know it when they see it. But as much criticism as NFL referees get, and as much as they got after last night, players not being ejected and pass interference not being called, I think they're getting it right. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80, and on ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. And all guests are on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So I was listening to First Take this morning, and I was hearing what I guess, I don't know, I thought it was a dying thought process in the NFL. It's called Dak Prescott doubt. But Jonathan Vilma, ESPN's football analyst, was on Get Up, and he said this.
What I haven't seen from Dak Prescott from that, what I have seen from a Drew Brees, what I have seen from a Tom Brady, what I have seen from even Phillip Rivers, they carried their offense when they didn't have the best players on that team, right? So when Zeke Elliott wasn't there, what happened with Dak Prescott? How average did he become as a quarterback?
There we go, once again. The reason I said First Take and not Get Up, because I also saw Jonathan Vilman say, all you have to do is stop Zeke. And then roll coverage to Dak Prescott. And then boom, he's done, and he takes off running. And Jonathan Vilma is now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. What's up, John?
What's up, Will? How you doing?
I'm good. So are you going to be the last guy in the Dak Prescott doubt boat, or how's that going to work? Like everybody else is bailing out. You know, they're in the water already. They're swimming for the life rafts, and I see you up there still captain of the ship.
Oh, there's no doubt in Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback for that system. And when you have horses such as Zeke Elliott, such as an offensive line that's getting healthy and one of the best in the NFL, it makes it a lot easier to play that position. And I'll repeat that there was a reason Jerry Jones made sure that Zeke Elliott was in the building and running and playing football for the Cowboys to start the season, because it could have very easily gone just the way the Melvin Gordon route went, where they started 1-2. Hey, they still run the ball pretty well, but clearly Melvin Gordon is an integral piece in the LA Chargers. But they don't want to ruin their season. Jerry Jones has high aspirations and knows that Zeke Elliott is the reason that Dak Prescott is going to do phenomenally well as he has done and as he has produced.
Jonathan Vilma here on the Will Cain Show, and Jonathan has played more, forgotten more football than I'll ever know. But that being said, you know me, John, I'm going to wade into this, and let's see if I can push back a little bit on some of your analysis. So first of all, I think you're wrong. I don't think that Dak Prescott recedes to an average quarterback without Ezekiel Elliott. There's no doubt that Zeke is important to the team. When Dak Prescott's had his one career downturn, which was in the second half of his second season, it was when Zeke was suspended. But the truth of the matter is, what was really the problem was the absence of Tyron Smith at the same time. Tyron Smith went out around that same time, and Dak was under a ton of pressure, starting with that Atlanta Falcons game where he got sacked, I think, 6 times by Adrian Claiborne. And that really started.
He held the ball too long. But okay,
he did,
I'm listening.
Yeah, and that was, you're right. He did default into holding the ball too long at some point. But I don't think that's a problem with Zeke. Like, we're painting the picture like it's all about Zeke. Well, this beginning of this season, after Zeke's holdout, Zeke comes back. He's not ready. He doesn't get that many snaps. He plays for 50 yards. He rushes for 50 yards. And Dak throws for over 400. I just think we've seen an evolution of Dak, that he's not an average quarterback without his running back.
So, Dak Prescott, well, first let's talk about this season. As you brought up that he's played very well, and I agree with you, he has played very well. Stats are there to support everything that says that he's a top-tier quarterback. But look a little bit deeper, and then you realize, well, who did he play? The teams that he's played are combined 1-8, and really should be at 0-9 had the Bucs not tricked off a field goal to lose a game to the Giants. So the competition is very questionable if you start looking deeper at who did Dak play. Then you want to go back to Ezekiel getting suspended, and that might have been the downturn or a time or a period where Dak could have been exploited for a bit of time. Well, I will also remind you that there are many above-average, top-tier quarterbacks who have had injuries at the running back position, who have had injuries on their offensive line, who have had injuries at the receiver position, who didn't have the plethora of receivers to garner Super Bowl contention, yet they played extremely well.
Well, there's a ton, that haven't as well, and Dak didn't have all that at that time. He didn't have Amari Cooper then. He didn't have Tyron Smith. He didn't have Ezekiel Elliott.
Which is fine. But here's my point. When players get injured on a program where there's a top tier quarterback and players other than the quarterback get injured, you say, okay, no problem. Because why? They still have their quarterback. If Zeke got hurt and or some of the receivers got hurt, no one would say, "Oh, there's no problem because we have Dak." That no one's saying that. No one has said that. And then will there be a time?
They will soon.
Exactly, and that's where I agree with you.
You do.
That they will soon at some point say that it doesn't matter if Zeke's there. It doesn't matter if Amari Cooper's there. We have Dak. Right now, you don't say that. No Cowboys fan will say that if you said, "Oh my goodness, Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott is high ankle sprain out 4 to 6 weeks." No one's going to say, it's okay, we have Dak, the same way that someone would say, it's okay, we have Drew. It's okay, we have Brady.
But, Vilma, I guess where Cowboys fans, you know Cowboys fans are mad at you today.
Of course.
I saw it on social media. I guess what we feel like, here I am with the we, it's happening now, right? You're saying it's going to happen one day. Dak is rising up.
Yes.
He's been a top 5 quarterback in the league. You make fair points, and I'm not the guy who denies fair points. I think you're right that he held the ball too long in past seasons. I think you're right that the competition has been weak. I think you're wrong that he's average without Zeke, and I think that you're wrong when I heard you say this morning that he's a one-read guy, pull it down and run. I think maybe against weak competition, but through 3 games this season, he's showing he goes through progressions and hits receivers. I mean, he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
So, Will, first to address where we do agree, or we're close to agreeing. He is, as a Cowboys fan, Cowboys fans believe that he has already arrived. And I'm saying that he hasn't arrived yet, but he is getting there. And I also said that he will be and deserves to be at some point the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And that's based on his performance. It's not because Jerry Jones likes him. It's because he's performing very well. Now, with all of that being said, when we talk about a one-read quarterback, I'm talking about a guy who gets to sit in the pocket for 5 seconds and go through his progressions. That's all fine and dandy. Any quarterback can do that. It's 7-on-7. It's practice. Because why? He's playing lesser opponents. The competition isn't there. Now, let's take it up a notch where we expect on Sunday night for the Saints defense to be a step up, right? We expect a competitive game. We expect more pressure than what we've seen on Dak Prescott in recent games. We expect that it's going to be a competitive matchup, particularly with Dallas's offense versus the Saints defense. Forget the other side of Teddy Bridgewater and the Cowboys D. What we're talking about is if Dak Prescott starts to get pressure and the clock in his head starts to turn up a little bit faster, is he going to sit in the pocket and take some of the heat and take some of the hits and take some of the sacks possibly while he goes through his progressions to hit the right man? Or is he going to do what we've all seen, objectively, Cowboys fans, everyone
But you just said he holds the ball too
long. To get pressure.
Okay, but you also said he held the ball too long in the past. So he did sit in there and take sacks. He did take sacks.
No. That's a complete different scenario. When you have one of your best offensive linemen out, you know you need to spit the ball out. he was acting like he still had his best offensive lineman in the game and was sitting there trying to read and was getting.
You got him coming and going. You got him coming and going, holding the ball too long or taking off and running. You got him either way.
No, Will, don't even try it. Don't even try it. You have his offensive line is there and healthy, and if he's going to go through his reads. If he starts getting hit, what I'm telling you is he is going to start to bail. And what the difference is from what I'm talking about now and when his offensive line was injured is that he didn't recognize that, I don't have the best players up front. He didn't recognize that and didn't realize, look, I have to now go to a first read or get the ball out quicker.
Right.
That's the complete difference.
All right, I'm against my commercial break. I know you're going to take that as a victory because I have to go and run off to my commercial break. But how about this? How about we reconvene next week and one of us has to admit they were wrong? How about that?
I would love that. Okay. I would love it.
All right, thanks, man. That's Jonathan Vilman, ESPN football analyst and Super Bowl champion here on the Will Cain Show. Tune in to the Down and Distance podcast hosted by Ivan Mazel, commemorating the 150th anniversary of college football. Download, subscribe, and review Down and Distance, available wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Let's push the live read, and I'm going to tell you why the referees are actually getting it right. Next on the Will Cain Show.
Will Cain, huge fan. I am unsure how the executive at ESPN let someone who is so unequivocally wrong all of the time host their own show on the air.
You want to be heard? Call the Will Cain Show now. 888-SAY-ESPN.
It's always easy to bang on the referees. It's always easy in slow motion, still frames, to see exactly the moment, the place, the time that they got it wrong. And last night on Thursday Night Football was no exception. From Derek Barnett surviving an ejection to pass interference calls that both sides, Packers fans and Eagles fans, wanted to be called. Everybody was upset with the referees. But I'm here to tell you, I think they mostly got it right. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. A little bit earlier, we talked about the top players in the NBA. ESPN.com ranked its top 100 players. Number 1 was Giannis Antetokounmpo. Number 2 was Kawhi Leonard. And number 3 was LeBron James. Scott in L.A. What's up, Scott?
Hey, well, thanks for letting me in, and I apologize for the rant. But I don't even know if people at ESPN actually watch basketball. I mean, first of all, Kawhi Leonard didn't even get any mentions for MVP candidate this year. He wasn't even in the top 3. He goes out. He's the only person in the whole world that could stop Kevin Durant and Giannis. He wins a title with the second team, gets an MVP, and somehow he's not first. And then this infatuation with this malcontent Anthony Davis, who doesn't win anything when it matters. How is he number 5 and considered the best big man over Jokic? And then getting to Joel Embiid, how is he top 8? He never shows up when necessary. He's always absent when needed. And then for all laughs, James Harden above Stephen Curry? I mean, come on. Who is putting this list together? It's fraught with just landmines, and I don't even know if people even actually watch the game. But for sure, Giannis is not number 1, and for sure, Anthony Davis is not 5. And for sure, none of those guys, or some of them, are not better than Stephen Curry. Thanks for letting me in.
You bet, Scott. Appreciate the call. For what it's worth, ESPN has invested billions in the NBA. Trust me, we watch the NBA. All right. Last night, once again, the NFL fell under the scrutiny of its fan base. A fan base that is graced with slow motion video and instant replay, one where we can see exactly where the referees might get it wrong. And there were 2 different types of instances last night where the referees are coming under scrutiny. First, should Philadelphia Eagles defensive end Derek Barnett been ejected? Derek Barnett came in on a hit, one where Green Bay Packer Jamal Williams was being held up by 2 other Eagles. To all intents and purposes, he'd already been tackled. And Barnett came in from the opposite side and hit Williams helmet to helmet, somewhat low, and Williams crumpled to the floor. It was a sad scene. He was carried off the field on a cart. His face mask was removed. He did show movement in his hands, and I believe reports are now he's also shown movement in his lower extremities as well. Derek Barnett was apologetic on the field, came over and talked to Jamal Williams. But many were saying, why was Barnett not ejected from the game? Now, according to the rules, these were rules put in place in 2018, the standards for ejecting a player are this. Number one, does the player lower his helmet to establish a linear body